everyone may be seated. Good morning. We are ready to proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, this witness has been previously sworn to testify truthfully. Mr. Berry.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Morris.
Good morning.
Before we start, I just want to ask you to make sure court reporter reminded me that you talk fast and she's taking you before. So just if we can go slowly as we go through this, so everybody can understand all the things you have to say. Please introduce yourself to the jury and tell them what you do for a living.
My name is Scott Morris. I'm a digital forensic examiner employed by the FBI.
And can you give us just a little bit about your background, that as far as your training, your education, experience, qualifies you to do the job that you now hold?
So I was retired in 2020 from the Grand Prairie Police Department. I have a Bachelor's of Applied Science. As part of my duties at the Grand Prairie Police Department, I was assigned to the Computer Forensic Laboratory at the FBI, the North Texas Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory. I since retired, became employed by the FBI. As part of my training to become a digital forensic examiner, you go through about a 1.5-year process of training, hands-on classes. Once you become certified, you continue to go through training. And since that time in 2016, where I was certified as an examiner, I've had approximately 1,200 hours plus of continued training.
And you work for some, you said you work for the North Texas Regional Computer Forensic Laboratory?
Correct.
And is that associated with any other agencies that the jury may know about?
So the NTRCFL, as you referred to it, is made up of FBI as well as task force officers. As I said, I was a Grand Prairie task force officer originally, but it still has Richardson, Dallas, Plano, Frisco, as well as the FBI that make that up. And we serve essentially the top half of Texas, taking in requests from the FBI and other law enforcement agencies.
And are you, even though you are, I guess, what you classify as an ITSDFE, is that right?
That's what the FBI classifies me as, yes, sir.
And what do those letters stand for?
Information Technology Specialist, Digital Forensic Examiner.
All right. And so do you actually work under the purview of the FBI in that capacity?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So back in November of 2022, did you receive a phone? Did you have to go somewhere to get a phone on behalf of that had been seized by the FBI related to the disappearance of a young girl by the name of Athena Strand?
It was actually December 2nd,
Okay.
and it was a Friday night, and I was called by the lab director at that time and responded to the Wise County Sheriff's Office, where he turned over the phone to me.
Okay. And once you got the phone, what did you do?
At that point, I returned and went to the laboratory and attempted the extraction.
And where is your laboratory located?
It's in downtown Dallas.
Is it right there? Or describe where in downtown.
It's right near Dealey Plaza, 207 South Houston.
Gotcha. And may I approach your honor?
Yes, sir.
Prior to court today, did I show you what had been marked as State's Exhibit number 153?
Yes.
And at the time that I showed it to you, did I ask you to check to make sure it was sealed and it hadn't been tampered with?
Correct.
And then, in your presence, did I open it so that we could examine the inside of it?
Yes, sir.
And once we took it out of the initial packaging and get down to this pink packaging, do you recognize this item? Actually, it's the one that's inside. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, this is the way that the phone was turned over to me on December 2nd.
And then, once that you had dealt with it, did you then place it inside of this pink packaging,
Correct.
and it has your initials and where it was sealed at that time.
Correct. My initials and the date that I sealed it across the top, as well as our lab number for our examination, and our barcode number is the DL120330.
And for purposes of the record, for previous testimony, I'll state that state's exhibit number 153 is the phone that was entered as the phone that was with the defendant at the time that he was arrested. You know?
Correct.
Okay. Now, were there some other items besides the phone that you were asked to examine as well?
Yes, a few days later, they also brought 2 gaming systems and a laptop.
And we're just going to talk about the phone this time. Get it back in the package. So you said that on December the 2nd, you drove out to the Wise County Sheriff's Office and you picked up the phone, took it back to Dallas to your lab, is that correct?
Correct.
Were you able to do a full download of it at that time?
Not on December 2nd, no, sir.
Okay. When was it that you were able to complete the download process?
That would have been the following Monday, I believe December 5th.
All right. And tell us the process that you went through to what we call digital extraction of that phone.
So the reason I was unable to do it on that Friday night is that the USB port by default, or maybe set up that way by the owner, had been set to charging only. So it didn't allow data transfer without unlocking the device. At the time that I received the phone, I wasn't provided the passcode. On Monday, I obtained a passcode and then was able to obtain my extraction. And we do that by connecting it to a tool, software, that then obtains the extraction for us, following a set of steps that are prompted. Once we obtain the extraction, it also provides a hash value, a mathematical hash value for that specific extraction that you can then, if you copy it to the network or move it around, process it. I should always be able to go back to that hash value, whether it be 1 month, 10 months, 5 years, and rehash it and show that the extraction has not been altered in any way.
And in fact, during the discovery process, did you actually have to go back to your original download to create an additional copy of that original download at the request of the defense, so that they had the, I don't know exactly what you say, but all of the raw data that you had?
Correct. I requested and responded by making a discovery copy for the court.
And so there's a whole lot of different reports that you can generate with regard to this, but the one I think that generally is, what is the one that's generally used to sort of, for a layperson like myself, to go through the phone and just see what they might be able to find?
So when we are requested to perform an examination, it kind of falls one of 2 ways. Either we're giving them a lot of data, kind of guidance on what they're looking for, and we conduct a full-blown forensic examination, or they can request a portable case, depending on which tool we use. It goes by a different name. But that portable case puts all that raw data, process it in a way that, yes, an investigator can go through, look at emails, look at text messages, etc. They can look at it themselves. In this case, I created a portable case using Cellbrite, and that's commonly referred to as a reader report.
And based upon the reader report, were you then requested to go back on the days following November 30th, I guess the specific dates of December 1st and December 2nd, were you asked to look at some cell searches, or internet searches that might have been done on that phone, and then also some images that may have been accessed on that phone?
Correct.
And were you able to go back and verify certain times and dates that certain things were accessed?
Correct. I was asked to provide a list of artifacts and asked to confirm that they did in fact
report today, did you, were you showing a document, I think approximately maybe 30 pages, 18, yes, 29-page document that, of those artifacts that you called in, and there's some dates and times that go with the artifacts to verify that those dates and times are correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh,
I haven't done that yet.
I figured you were getting ready to do that.
So, may I approach?
Yes, sir.
Should I call you Agent Morris or Mr. Morris?
Mr. Morris is fine, I'm not an agent.
Mr. Morris, I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 287 and ask you if you just briefly flip through that and see if that's the document that you examined prior to court today, and I think previous to that as well.
Yes, sir, it is.
And prior to that document being created, were there numerous other artifacts that have been honed down to this as far as what we're going to bring before the jury?
Correct, over seven.
Okay. And so with regard to State's Exhibit number 287, you have 2 pages that are just delineate the date that the thing occurred on, right?
Correct.
Thursday, December 1st, and Friday, December 2nd.
Yes, sir.
And with regard to the other pages on there, then there would be a screenshot off of your reader report, and then the dates and times that go with that screenshot.
Correct.
And do you, is your testimony that you have, where there's little red boxes that have been added to the screenshot, does that point out the things that are referenced as to the date and the time to the left, on the left side of the page?
Correct. The red boxes were added afterwards. They're not part of the initial processing.
And other than that, with regard to the photographs or the screenshots, are those true and correct copies of what would have come directly off of the reader report?
Correct.
All right. Now, on the dates and times, the dates and the times that are on the left side of the page, have they been gone through the conversion process? Is it the original times that you read on the reader report are usually in what time zone?
Usually the forensic software is going to list everything in universal coordinated time, otherwise known as UTC, or Greenwich Mean Time. And then from there, you can convert the time based on which time zone you're in. For this one, we are Central Standard Time, so it's minus 6 hours.
So if it says over here on the left side, the date and the time, and it says CST, what does CST stand for?
Central Standard Time?
Do you believe it would aid the jury to understand some of the things that were being accessed by the defendant on this phone after the time, the alleged time, or the admitted time now, that he murdered Athena Strand on November the 30th, 2022?
I do.
I will offer State's Exhibit number 287 into evidence.
Sure.
Couple more questions about State's Exhibit number 287. We talked about the red marks. Those were added afterwards, correct?
Correct. I didn't make that presentation, so whoever did added those red marks afterwards, just to highlight certain aspects.
But you would agree that the red marks that were added were to show what the time frame is related to over here? Because there's multiple time frames on some of these
Correct.
shots, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's also specifically as to the search where it shows web history, there's a URL or a file path that was used to get there. Is that correct?
Correct. File path shows where that artifact is located within the overall file system.
Now, understanding that, are the red marks helpful, in your opinion, to show that the date and the time that they're related to?
Correct.
Okay. regard to the date and the time, those date and times were put there before you saw this document, correct?
Correct.
But did you go back and verify those dates and times to make sure that those were true and correct?
Correct. Each of the artifacts I was able to locate matched up to the time displayed.
Okay. And with regard to that, would you adopt that as far as part of your testimony as to for the individual artifact and the time that's on the same page, that that's the time that that artifact is related?
Correct, so long as it's minus 6 hours from whatever's displayed in UPC.
That's it. All right, thank you. With that understanding, one thing further. Prior to court today, was there a hearing outside the presence of the jury where you did your qualifications, talked about what you were going to testify to?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, the defense had an opportunity to make objections to your testimony.
They did.
Relevance.
Sustained.
Yeah, I don't have any objections to it as a demonstrative evidence. We would object to come back.
All right, so states 287 is admitted. You may have a running objection.
May I publish your?
Yes, sir.
Now publishing page 1 of State's Exhibit number 287. Mr. Morris, as far as how these pages are related to each other, are they in chronological order, starting earlier in the day on December 1st and moving through that day, and then going earlier in the day on December 2nd and moving?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Thank you. So, the second page, page 2 of State Exhibit 287, I want to focus in on, it shows an event that occurred on December 2nd, 2022, which was early Thursday morning at 3:30 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And that related to an internet search that had refreshed, I guess at that time, from one that had previously.
Actually,
Explain, you're right. Explain to me what we're seeing here in this red box that I have focused in on with regard to page 2 of State's Exhibit 287.
So the search was for my family makes me out to be a demon. I was asked to locate that within the extraction and verify that it came from my extracted data. In doing so, I located that date, that specific search, but also located what appears to be the original search, which, if my memory serves, was actually performed on November 22nd, sometime after 10 p.m. So that this search is either a research or it's just still in his history and was hit again, or the page refreshed back if he didn't close that tab. So this is not the initial original search.
But it does show that that search was refreshed or accessed at what time of day on December the 1st of 2022?
According to that, it's December 1st, 2022 at 3:30 a.m. Central Standard Time.
And the total text of, because over here, if we're looking at the middle, it doesn't give the entire text of the search, correct?
Correct, and you can see there as well that it's been refreshed a couple times on that date.
Understood. And so, but the total text is over in this box in the lower right-hand corner. My fiance's family makes me out to be a demon. Is that right?
Correct, and if you were to widen the column in the software, which you can't do with a screenshot, obviously, you could also see the entire search string.
You're talking about this column here?
Yes, sir, if you widen that within the software, you'd be able to see the entire column.
All right, moving on to page number 3. Now we have an image that shows to have been accessed on December 1st, 2022 at what time?
6:19 a.m. Central Standard Time.
And just for purposes of the record, can you describe what we're looking at?
It's a graph, 3 circles intersecting, with different subject titles in each one.
And so the top circle, are they in a triangular formation?
No, there's circles.
Well, they're circles, but they are like one circle on top of 2 other circles.
Correct, intersecting in the center.
Understood. So the 3 main circles titles are what?
Catholicism, autism, and nerdship.
Okay. And what does it say is the intersection of all 3 of those things?
It has the acronym BDSM.
And that was at 6:19 a.m. on December 1st, right?
Correct.
So if, well, let me go on to the next one. Okay, let's go on to the next one, December 1st, 6:19:48 in the morning. What's the next image that we're looking at?
It appears to be a book titled Hot and Bothered.
What's the subtitle, please?
How to think about, talk about, and have the sex you really want.
Going on. 7:37, now we're jumping all the way to 7:37 p.m. And we have,
They had back when we were asking this question.
Don't lose your witness.
Your Honor, I believe this has been admitted into evidence. I think I could read off of the document that's admitted into evidence if that's allowed.
I'm just saying, don't lose your witness.
Yes, sir. Okay. Is that, tell us, is this the same or different search that was earlier accessed that we referred to on the first day?
That's the same search. Just the refresh brought to the present.
Okay, thank you. Now, December 1st, what time is this next page, specifically for purposes of record, page 6, what time is this image accessed?
It's displayed as 1:06:05 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And that's, in PM means what?
Post reading means in the afternoon.
All right. And with regard to that, do you recognize that image as being a certain person?
I do.
And who is that?
Athena Strand.
Going on, same time frame. What are we looking at here? Page 7,
It's another picture of Athena Strand.
page 8,
Another image of Athena Strand.
page 9.
Another image of Athena Strand.
Now, the next time frame that we're looking at on December 1st, 2022 is what? Here on page 10.
2:20:54 p.m. Central Standard Time.
2:20 in the afternoon.
Correct.
Is there a different search that is being done at this time?
Yes, but I can't read.
I'm going to focus in on it.
Thank
Over here in the box, can you see the text of that search?
I do.
What is it?
Do FedEx truck cameras constantly record?
You said that was at what time?
2:20 p.m. 54 seconds Central Standard Time.
And over here, can you see that in the UTC time?
Correct. So again, 6 hours forward, 8:20 p.m.
Going on, page 11. What time frame are we looking at here on the searches that we're focused in on at this point?
Shows December 1st, 2022, 7:33:29 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And what is the text of the searches that are being done?
Paradise Missing Girl.
And how many different refreshes or new screens were accessed as part of this?
What's displayed there is 5.
Going on, page 12. What time frame are we looking at here?
December 1st, 2022, 8:16:07 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And I'm going to show you, that is page 12, page 13. Are you familiar with what these photographs show?
I am.
Can you state that for the record, please?
Certain areas of the crime scene.
Going on to page 14.
Additional photos of the crime scene, and all those, that string of images is part of, I believe, a WhatsApp chat group.
And I want to ask you about, when you refer to it as the crime scene, it's hard to narrow that down because there's multiple things going on at the same time. So can you say where are these search areas, or where the body was recovered? You know.
I do not know each specific one.
Okay, that's fine. Going on to December 2nd, 2020. At what time frame are we looking at here?
That one shows December 2nd, 2022, 1:49:43 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And do you recognize the person in that photograph?
I believe that is Tanner Warner.
And was this a photograph that was embedded within his phone?
It is several times.
And with regard to that, was it accessed though at this time of day?
It pops up within that Facebook workup, which is Android's name for Facebook Messenger. So I don't know, I wasn't asked to determine if it's profile picture or how it's accessed. Yes, the image did present itself at that time.
Okay. Now going on to page number 17. What time of day are we looking at here?
December 2nd, 2022, 2:57:09 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And is there a photograph of a young girl on there?
There is
And do you know who that young girl is?
Athena Strand.
Going on to page number 18. Do you see another photograph?
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
Athena Strand.
Page 19, is this a different time that was accessed than the previous time this photograph was accessed?
Correct.
Page 20, what are we looking at here for purposes of the record?
It's a missing poster for Athena Strand.
Page 21,
Another missing banner for Athena Strand.
page 22,
Another missing poster for Athena Strand.
page 23,
Another missing poster for Athena Strand.
page 24,
An image of Athena Strand.
page 25,
It would appear to be, again, a photo of a search or crime scene location.
page 26,
Another message photo alert, if you will, of Athena Strand.
page 27,
Another image of Athena Strand.
page 28,
Another image of Athena Strand.
and page 29.
It's still another image of Athena Strand.
And these are all images that you recovered from where?
These came from the extracted data of the phone submitted to the laboratory.
And who did that phone come from?
I believe it came from Tanner Warner.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Morrison.
Good morning.
Follow-up questions for you. As to this PowerPoint, you did not create that.
That's correct.
And your work in the digital forensic, the recovery from the phone, the artifact, is the images over here which is on the right, not the word.
Correct. The images on the right are what came from the extraction. The images on the left are just taken from that. Summarizing, if you will.
Sure. And you're only testifying to those artifacts on the phone. You're not giving any testimony regarding who the end user was at the time or anything like that.
Correct.
Now, this wording in blue there,
Yes, sir.
that is our file.
Correct.
So that's kind of where it ended up on your phone, on the phone.
Yes, sir.
And there's ways things get onto your phone other than you searching for it.
Correct.
Can you just tell me what a cache is?
So a cache is, best way to describe it is a temporary storage. You have different caches within your web browsers, different caches within your social media applications, and the purpose of a cache is really to try to make your user experience better. So if you think of a news site, it may cache data, so the next time you go to that news site, if it's one you go to frequently, you're not waiting on it to pull up all the original data. It can pull up more quickly and present itself quicker. In the same way, social media apps have a similar fashion. If they're trying to present the user quickly what you want to see, you're not waiting. And so it can cache data of stuff you've looked at for social media. Some of it may be preloaded, as you may be familiar with social media. When you pull it up, there's already a video waiting for you.
And you kind of mentioned there, so different programs will have their own cache storage place, right?
Correct. And then the phone itself can have a cache. They're all over extraction.
Okay, so there's multiple different little pockets where things will get put into.
Correct.
And that's what we're calling an artifact, is any sort of image or message or anything that gets saved.
Correct.
And those images will remain in that cache until they're either written over or if the program has some sort of time limit.
Correct. Each platform can set up its own parameters. The phone can to try to manage that cache so that it doesn't become too large on your device and then start rendering your user experience in the negative because it's taking up too much space.
Now, going through each of these photos in the state's presentation, they all have this file path showing where they ended up, right?
Correct.
And this one, for example, is from Facebook.
Correct.
So Facebook caches, what goes in there isn't necessarily something you click on.
Correct. It's made up of a multitude of data.
Okay. And it's like when you're scrolling and viewing things, that can be a cache.
Correct. In the simplest of terms, it can be stuff that's preloaded. It can be things you've looked at. It can be things that your social media by kind of tracking your interests, your likes, or things that have been occurring in and around your phone or maybe your area, your location. It can preload that data and be available for you or shared by other content users.
Exactly. So if I look at a particular topic, searched on YouTube for gardening or something, and I pull that Facebook, and suddenly I've got 60 things on gardening, and I'm scrolling through those can end up back in my cache.
Correct.
Okay. And I believe Instagram's owned by Meta, so it too as is Facebook.
Yes.
So would it work similarly? I think we may have an Instagram photo or two of you.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on each cache, but yes, they'll work in a similar fashion. I couldn't testify that they have the exact same configuration and rules of how long they can store data and whatnot.
Well, for example, the dates we're talking about, Ms. Strand would have been in the news a lot.
Correct.
Would have been on the news feed on Facebook a lot.
Correct.
And if I'm scrolling in Wise County, I'm likely to run into something.
Correct.
And that would go into my cache.
Yes, sir.
Specifically, the one you testified to as being crime scene, that was actually from WhatsApp, correct?
Yes, and again, that is shared data held on the phone.
Okay. But that one is a little different because that was from a message group, right?
Yes, sir.
So if, and I believe it was maybe a FedEx, maybe something from his work.
I believe FedEx group chat, yes, sir.
So when that goes out on the group chat, and I'm in that group chat, and I click on that there's a message from coworkers, or mechanic clicks on this message from coworkers, that is went into the WhatsApp cache.
Yes, sir.
So that wasn't like him looking for crime scene, that was a message group he was part of. He clicks on it and it goes on the web.
Yes, for that specific artifact, it was part of that group chat.
Yeah, I'm referring to that specifically. There's also some of these that may have been from messages from his meeting from his grandmother.
Okay.
And so if you get a message from someone else, the same thing. You click on it, whatever attachment they sent you goes into the cache.
Yes, it can be cached depending on what messaging platform you're using, WhatsApp, the native messaging for the phone, Facebook messaging.
So because you've got the file path on these, and it's different from the search terms you showed, these are from caches from either Facebook or Instagram or the WhatsApp or a message that was sent.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question to you about the browser history. You talked about a first-time searching and a reloading, that sort of thing. What are different ways that something gets into that history for a program that has a history rather than a cache?
So if you're familiar with, for instance, Google on your phone, if you type in a specific search, if you don't clear your history and you go back, then it can be, as soon as you start typing, it may present itself and you can click and follow that same search. Also, if you have multiple tabs open, you may have that tab open the entire time, and it's not until you click on that tab, then it refreshes, brings it back to the forefront, and you can continue that search again, if you desire.
So while they operate a little differently, either with the cache or with the history, you don't necessarily have to intentionally click on something for it to end up there.
Correct.
Now, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I believe it's in your report that one of the first things you did to gain access to the phone to do was to search for child sexual abuse materials.
I'm sorry?
Child sexual abuse material on the phone. I think it's in your report, maybe prior testimony, that was like one of the first things you did.
I think I remember noting that I didn't locate it.
That was going to be my next question. So you didn't locate any sort of child sexual abuse material. I think that was the acronym of it.
Correct, I did not.
Just to clarify, we're referring to any sort of pornography involving kids or children, anything like that. You didn't find it in your search.
I did not.
One last question, and you may or may not know the answer to this. As far as Facebook and Instagram, and those sorts of programs, when you change your user handle, do you know that that changes the user, how that appears on old posts?
I don't know if it changes on old posts.
Okay. Pass it, John.
Redirect.
We've already shown this photograph. In order for somebody to have this documentation on their screen, or what would have to happen?
Those listed there are typing searches. You're typing in a search. If you wanted to know what the weather is, you type, what is the weather today? That is what that artifact is cataloging.
So would the person, whoever it was that was using the phone at that time, be the one that advertised it?
Correct.
And is that the same with regard to State Exhibit 287, page 10, this red box?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No further questions?
Mr. Goble?
Yes, sir. As of the first image he showed you, there was 4 or 5 searches. Those occurred between 1:33 and 1:37.
I don't know.
4-minute period.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, 4-minute period of 4 types of searches.
Well, it could be that you load the first search, you didn't type it that many times.
Okay.
So it's repeating, kind of like with the FedEx trucks report constantly, or the other one about the family thinks I'm a demon. It's not being retyped each time. So you type the first time, and then as you go into your history, remember it shows your history. You can either follow it again, or it's just pulling up, refreshing that window.
Okay, so I thought Mr. Berry asked for the retype, but that's not necessarily what happened. It means that search was reloaded 4 times within that limit.
Yeah, I didn't look to verify, but I don't believe it. I don't believe that he typed it 5 times.
Okay, and the second one he showed you, those had the same exact time for the second, 8:20, 54, or something like that. So that's not in retyping, you think, it's thinking.
Correct. I'd have to see the slide again to follow exactly, but I don't believe it's being retyped. He could, but it doesn't necessarily indicate and mean that he typed it 2 times.
I'm sure you can type something that's.
Correct, if they were at the exact same time.
Right.
That's what I would say, without seeing the image again. I'm just taking your word that they're at the exact same time.
I was trying to write them down while they were up there. So,
Sure.
thank you, that's all.
Mr. Berry?
Nothing further.
May this witness be excused subject to any potential recall.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Hand me that microphone, just pull it out. Pull that microphone, pull it out. Thank you, sir. Who do you have next? I'm sorry? Kevin Huffman?